Night is coming. One by one the stars appear. Night is coming. And soon it will be time for stories. Long ago, storytellers invented magical stories about the sun, moon, stars, and the other great mysteries of the sky. The stories were not meant to explain these mysteries. Rather, they were told to help people pay attention to our world. Today, scientists use another way to help us pay attention to the mysteries of the sky. By observing, measuring, and predicting, they explain how the world works. And like the storytellers of old, today's scientists can lead us to better know and care for our world. Storytellers and scientists are today's SkyTellers, for they both tell us about the sky. And though each tells a different kind of story, both help us to better know our world and ourselves. Night is here. Listen now. This is the time for stories. In the long, long ago time, in the place of the high mountains, there lived a sheep whose name was Negah. Like the other bighorn sheep people, Negah had large horns that curved around each side of his head. With hooves that were strong and sure, he was known by all the animal people to be the best and the bravest mountain climber. Each day, he sought the highest peaks and the most difficult and dangerous parts of the mountain to test his courage and to better his climbing skills. No other sheep could climb as high or as fast. Now it happened that one day, while climbing in a place he had been many times, out of nowhere there appeared before him a giant mountain. It went up and up and up, way, way beyond the clouds. The sides of the mountain were steep, almost straight up and down, and they were as smooth as the lakes when they turned to ice in the winter. Negah was pleased with the challenge of a new mountain. He hurried to its base and began to look for a way to climb to the top. Round and round the base he went, but he could find no path, no ledge, no place to begin his climb. How can this be, he wondered. Is this a magic mountain? One too high, too steep, and too smooth for me to climb? Each day Negah returned to the mountain. He climbed over and around the boulders at the base of the mountain, determined to find a path that would lead him to the peak. But each evening he returned home, having failed to find a way to reach the top. This went on and on until one morning, when he came upon a crack in one of the large boulders. He squeezed through the crack and discovered that he was in a cave, and in the cave there was just enough light for him to see a path. Negah followed the path, and soon he was in total darkness. And though he could not see, he could feel the path under his hooves, twisting and turning and leading him in all directions. In time, he could feel that the path was leading him upwards. Soon the path became so steep that not even Negah's powerful hooves could keep sand and pebbles and stones from slipping beneath him. Negah stumbled along. Sometimes he fell down. He was tired and frightened. He decided to give up the climb and return home. He wanted to be with the other bighorn people, to be outside and in the light. Negah turned around and followed the path back to its beginning. But it was too late. The rocks that had loosened and fallen under his hooves had filled the opening to the cave. There was nothing for him to do but return to the path and finish his journey. And so he once again began his climb. He struggled along until at last the path emptied into the sunshine. Naga had reached the mountaintop. He stepped into the light and was just about to leap with joy. But he did not, for he discovered that though he was on the peak of the mountain, there was only enough room for him to stand. There was not even room for him to turn around. With no path to lead him down the outside of the mountain, and the path on the inside of the mountain sealed, Naga knew that he must remain on the peak, there to stand until his death. Now the one above, the one who is maker of all things, saw Naga on the mountain peak and took pity. The one above proclaimed, "Naga, my son, must remain in that one place forever, but he shall not die." And with that, the one above turned Naga into a star. And the old ones say that it is true, for to this day, though other stars move about, Naga stands unmoving in the sky. Day and night he remains in that place, there to stand guard over the world. On any clear night he can be seen. Naga is the North Star, the star that does not move.
The story of Naga and how he became the star that does not move certainly helps us pay attention to the stars. In the sky we see today, there is only one visible star that does not seem to move. That has always made it special. Peoples from many cultures have told many stories about it and have given it special names. Naga, the bighorn sheep who turned into the unmoving guardian in the north. Chief Star, the one who stands still and directs the motions of all the others. Home Star, who guides us homeward when we lose our way. Today, scientists call it Polaris, the pole star. But what does it have to do with a pole? And why does it seem to stand still while all the other stars seem to move in the sky? The answers to these questions can be found in the next story, a science story that will explain why this star is special and how it got its name. Long, long ago, people watched and wondered about the stars. They noticed many things about them. They noticed that the stars seemed to move in the sky. Like the sun, they seemed to rise above the horizon in the east, cross the sky, and set in the west. Long ago, this motion made people think that the stars were circling around the earth. Today, it still looks like the stars are going around the earth. But not all stars behave the same way. For many years, one star in particular has been considered special. And it's not the brightest star, and it's not the first star to appear at night, nor the last to disappear in the morning. What makes it different than all the other stars is that of all the thousands of stars we can see, it is the only one that seems to stand still. Every night, people who live in the northern half or northern hemisphere of the earth can look in the sky and see it in the same place. To understand why this star is special and why it behaves differently, we must not think about what the stars are doing, but what our Earth is doing to make the stars seem to behave as they do. Imagine our round Earth in space. Does the Earth sit still? No, it spins. It spins like a merry-go-round at an amusement park. And as we sit on our merry-go-round Earth, it carries us once around every 24 hours, once each day. It carries us around to face the sun, and then turns us away from the sun, giving us day and night. The Earth's spinning motion, called rotation, makes the sun seem to rise, cross the sky, and set as we rotate beneath it. And because we don't feel like we are moving, this motion makes the stars seem to rise, cross the sky, and set in the west. The Earth spins around something, an invisible line that we will call an axis. We can imagine this axis as a long, thin wire struck through the earth from bottom to the top. It starts at the bottom of the earth, the place we call the South Pole, and it comes out the top of the earth, the place we call the North Pole. As the earth spins, it seems to spin around this line. Imagine the line so thin that it becomes invisible, and you've made the Earth's axis, the imaginary line around which the Earth spins. But now, let's imagine that we can see that line again. And let's imagine that we can continue that line far above the North Pole, up into the sky. If we were to stretch that line far enough out into space, we would see that it points almost directly at a star. And that star is the North Star. We also call the star Polaris the pole star because it sits almost directly over the North Pole of the Earth. As the Earth spins, it looks like the stars are moving in the sky because we're turning underneath them. But what about the North Star? Because it lies right along Earth's axis, this star doesn't seem to move at all. It seems to stay put while all the other stars move. How do we find this special star in our sky? One of the best ways is to look for a famous group of stars that will point us to the North Star. This famous pattern is made of 7 stars. 4 of the stars make the outline of the bowl, while the other 3 look like a crooked handle attached to the end of the bowl. We call this star group the Big Dipper because it looks like a cup with a handle. It's a pretty easy pattern to find if you remember its shape. Now, when you find the Big Dipper, find the 2 stars of the bowl farthest away from the handle. These stars are called the pointer stars. Trace a line from the bottom star of the bowl through the top star and keep that line going until you come to a star that's about as bright as the 2 stars in the bowl. That star is the North Star. Once you find the North Star this way, you can find it again and again using the same 2 stars of the Big Dipper. If you go inside and come back out a few hours later, you will see that the Big Dipper has changed its place in the sky, since the Earth has been turning while you were inside. But the North Star will still be in the same place, and the pointer stars will still be pointing to it. And now we can understand why Polaris is a good star to know. If you lose your way at night, you can look up in the sky and find this star. From where you live, you will always find it in the same place and always in the north. When you find this star, it will speak to you. It will say to you, "This direction is north." And when you know that, you can figure out the other directions and find your way home. Now you've heard 2 stories about the North Star, and you know how to find it, and you can point it out to someone. Naga, North Star, Polaris, whatever you call this star, if you learn how to find it, you will always know that you have a friend in the sky, a friend who can help you and guide your way home. Many things in our world will change, but one thing you can know, that both day and night, during your lifetime, and for many hundreds of years to come, the star we call Polaris will stand over our Earth, like Naga, as if to stand guard and watch over us all.